It's darker. Hey, oh look, Maggie just came in while it was live. Hi, Maggie.
Your timing was
Say
perfect.
Hi. I know I don't know what our... Will you turn our lights up a little bit, Maggie?
Yes, I can do
just a
anything
teeny
you need.
bit. So Maggie's the best. So do I want to tag Maggie? How did it even know Maggie was in here? Because I'm speaking her name.
Everybody knows Maggie.
I know.
Everybody knows Maggie.
So Rebecca's
Come
on. Rebecca, let us know you can hear us and see us. We want to make sure because we both look a little... No, turn them on. Turn them on. Okay, she's working on it.
You're supposed to walk in, they're supposed to come on.
Oh, no, they don't come on.
They didn't come on when I walked
All right,
in.
so listen, Diane Bourne's on. We love you guys. It just, all of a sudden it got cloudy, so I want, I'm already in the tan mode, and so Michael, of course, has got me beat on that.
A little bit, just by a bit, just by a smidge.
You can hear us. Yay, Diane says yes. So Michael is a friend of mine. We met because of our mutual friend Phyllis, correct? I love Phyllis.
Everybody loves Phyllis.
Oh, look, there's Brian.
Hello.
Say hi, Brian.
Hi.
Brian's the best bartender in town. We love Brian. Yeah, you got to give it. Daniel Rodriguez is on, so they can hear us. Welcome, by the way.
Oh.
All right, so Michael is, we're going to talk about many things. Community service is not one of them. We're going to talk about public service. It's just so funny to type that out because I always want to talk about community service, meaning being involved in your community.
And it seems like something that's judge appointed.
Well, no, I just feel like you're going to have an orange outfit on
Well,
and you're on the
that
side of the
too.
road, and I don't need you to be that. Hey, Monica, what's up? Hey, Shirley, Juliana, everybody's giving you hearts, so we're good.
Awesome.
So tell us a little bit. We always want to get your story, and we're going to talk about higher ed. We're going to talk about college. Get your questions ready. If you have any questions for Michael before or after, thank you so much, Monica. Because we want to ask you questions because there's a lot going on in the higher ed world.
Sure.
All right, so give us a little background on you.
First off, thank you. Thank you for having me on the show.
It's an honor.
I am proud to be a native Floridian. I know there's not a lot of us out there, but I am. Originally from Tampa. Worked at Disney for about 12 and a half years.
What'd you do at Disney?
Everything, a little bit of everything. I was in Parks guest service manager in the Magic Kingdom for, seemed like an eternity.
Nice.
A long eternity. The last 3 years I worked for a department called College International Operations, and it was there that I figured out, I don't know that I like this corporate park stuff so much, but I do love higher education.
You like higher ed.
And so I transitioned. I got an undergrad from UCF, a master's from Nova Southeastern University, and I love my Nova experience so much. I ended up working for them. Now I'm the campus director for Nova Southeastern here in Orlando. We have a huge campus down in South Florida. We have a smaller campus here in Orlando. And I'm just trying to make the world a little bit of a better place.
So I have lots of questions based on that. So of course I'm a Knight too, so go Knights.
Go Knight Sharks.
We have some really, at least we have some good football when it comes to the Knights, or at least sort of good football. You have a sophomore in college and a senior in high school, so get your questions together, Juliana.
Definitely.
Honestly, because I think people have a hard time maneuvering through it. It's different than when I applied for my degrees, obviously. So what's campus director mean?
I'm still trying to figure that out. I've been doing that for about 8 years. I don't have it down. You are accountable for everything, and some things you don't have a lot of control on. So it's really, we have deans on our main campus down in Fort Lauderdale. It's making sure that their needs are met, that our students are happy, that we're finding prospective students in the community and getting them to become students. It's about doing a lot of community-oriented activities because that's one of our core values, and we really do. We do a lot of free training at our campus here in Orlando.
What kind of free training do you do? That's fascinating.
For example, if you are thinking about starting a nonprofit, we've kind of, now these are my words, but we've kind of formed a nonprofit consortium where different nonprofits can come together, and then we provide through that group and ourselves and our resources, we provide free training. So if you want to start a nonprofit but you don't know how to do fundraising or grant writing, we have probably every few months a grant writing class where you can learn that. And that's one of the areas we get a lot of feedback, good feedback,
Sure.
because they're learning how to get free money. Who doesn't want free money? Everybody does. So we've done things on teachers and how to get teacher certification. That's warm spot is K through 12 education and teachers, and just about everything we'll do.
Why is that a
some
warm
sort of free
spot
training.
for you?
Well, we all had a teacher, right, that
That's
changed
right.
our life.
I had several. I agree.
Yeah, no, my wife, Jennifer, she's also a teacher here in Orange County, and I have volunteered and seen her trajectory, and that has, and plus at Nova, at one point, we were the largest school of education in the state, one of the largest in the country. So I worked with a lot of teachers. I worked with a lot of people in Orange County. So when you work with people, you love them. You start to drink their Kool-Aid and
it's
education.
an underappreciated world in teaching. Eric Rawlings. Hey, Eric. We were just talking about you earlier, Eric. By the way.
Eric.
Eric, where can we find out about the nonprofit information?
If you go to the NOVA website, www.nova.edu/Orlando, and when you go to that landing page, you'll see a link for events, and then that'll pull up the calendar of events that we have there. Where as soon as they're scheduled, they'll go right up there. So. I'm sure if we don't have anything on there right now, we will shortly.
Because we were talking about before the show, Michael, that nonprofits, there's a million of you out there, but everybody's got a heart, but they're a business really at heart. You have to figure out how to run it like a business, especially if you get a grant.
Right. You
have to understand that with a grant, yes, it comes the money, but there also comes a lot of things that you have to accomplish and things that you have to do in order for you to continue the grant or in order for you to keep the grant. So it's super important for people to be trained properly.
Correct.
You can write a grant, get the money, and if you can't implement the plan that you have in place, that can be super problematic.
Right, and we have a lot of folks that we work with to do that training. And you know, one of the other things that we do is for folks who have a talent and want to share that talent, we'll host them at our campus and help promote it. So if there's something that would be a community plus, we'd love to host that. But you know, really, there are so many resources available in Orange County. I'm sure on your show you cover a lot of them.
I can't get to them all, but
I know they're
so
everywhere.
many.
They're everywhere. But we're just trying to aggregate all of the resources that are in the community and just help people become aware of it. Because it's the right thing to do for our community. And if we get a few folks that are interested in some of our programs, that's icing on the cake. But that's not why we do it. We really want to make Orange County and Central Florida as great a community as it can be.
So let's talk a little bit about higher ed. We had a conversation before. I always try to pick somebody's brain so I make sure that I don't ask the wrong question. There's no wrong question.
No.
But I think a lot of people, with higher education especially, there's a lot of controversy around it, mainly because you have the whole student loan crisis. Sure. There's a lot of colleges where it costs a ton of money to go to. The kids come out hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, or at least $100,000 in debt. It's still a lot of debt is the problem, and as on the loan side, on the mortgage side, we see it all the time. And then they can't find a job that even helps support the payment back for the student loan, let alone living their lives. So can you help them maneuver through that? How do you address that? When I know it's got to be a question on every parent's mind or anybody who's going back to school.
Sure. And it's not one discussion, it's several discussions. When I participate in the Teach-In with Orange County, which for those that don't know, it's one day you can go to any school and talk about anything with any class. I love that. So it's an awesome opportunity. But I do this college talk, and just to address what you said, one of the things that I think we have to do with our kids is take them to the Department of Labor Bureau and Statistics, Labor Bureau. Now I'm blanking on the exact website.
I know what you mean.
Department of Bureau, Labor and Statistics. But that website lists every occupation and the approximate salary expectations that you can expect for that salary. So if you have a passion about art history, that's fantastic. Just know when you spend X number of dollars on that, you might be making $30,000 when it's all said and done, which, you know, if that's where your heart and your passion is, great.
Right.
But don't go into that not knowing that's going to be the outcome, and then you're going to have student debt for years to come. Correct. So I think it all starts with finding what you're passionate about, and then what the outcomes of that financially are going to be. So when students go into college, they know. Half the battle is they don't know.
They really don't know, and that's hard. I mean, when you're at that age, hey Steve, when you're at that age, it's difficult to know what you really want to do with the rest of your life, because let's say you've always wanted to be a fashion designer.
Right.
I had one of those, right? One of my kids. I won't mention names. And so I'm like, okay, that's fascinating. I think you should probably go to New York if you want. I don't want to go to New York. I want to go to this school. Well, that school's not necessarily known for their fashion designing, honey. And 50 grand a year, 20 grand a year, even if it's 10 grand a year, it's a lot of money to spend. And then you come out and you're working retail at the mall, which is not bad. it doesn't take anything away from that job, but it's certainly, you have to do the research.
Right.
And somebody has to be there to guide you. That's also a difficult thing. If you don't have parental involvement, or you don't have a great high school counselor or somebody there to help you,
Absolutely.
you can be put in the wrong direction.
And there are a lot of resources out there that can help, but you got to know those resources exist. The one other thing, along with looking at the outcomes of a major, if you will, that is important, is when you're looking at a school and a program, you want to look at their internships. Where
Yes.
are they positioning these kids? Do they position these kids anywhere? Because that's going to tell you kind of that school's reputation in that particular discipline, and you can get a better sense on is it likely they're going to get a job later on. We all know, I mean, if you intern someplace and you do a great job, there's a good chance they're going to keep
Well,
you,
and that's the thing,
or
you're
you're going
right.
to get resources there. People don't think about that. They're worried about just getting their kids off to college, but there's that other, and you, more importantly, you want the kids thinking about this too, so it works on their critical thinking and their, because you don't want them to treat it like a vacation, when they go somewhere.
No, and even though it's a wonderful time, I loved my 9 years in my undergrad. It felt like 9 years. It was wonderful. I loved every second that I was there. At that time, I have to say, at UCF, it wasn't as intern-oriented as it probably could have been. It was in certain majors.
What was your
but not,
major again?
my major was I have a BS in finance.
Right.
My master's degree is in healthcare administration, health services administration. I got a lot of intern opportunities there. But it's totally different now. But not every college offers that. So you have to be super, like Michael's saying, really do your research. Because if they don't have like a help you through, okay, if it's a year before you're about to graduate, you're on time, and your kids aren't in some sort of intern program in their major, or they're not talking about it or working in it, and they're working some part-time job somewhere, which I understand helps pay the bills.
Definitely.
But honestly, you have to be working in your major. You can't get out of college, have your degree, and expect to just get a job with not having worked most of the time in doing something. And internships now have become, some of them are paid, which I find.
That's true.
That's becoming
true.
such a big thing. I'm even seeing it on some of these law commercials. If you worked an internship for X amount of hours. But talk about the power of higher ed, because there's a lot of people, especially this age group, we'll call them millennials, they hate me to call them millennials, but that particular age group, they're seeing that they believe that they can go out and just create their own business, take their vision and take it to the next level without higher education. I'm not saying they can't, but what are some of the things that you might advise them on when they're thinking about choosing that path over higher ed?
Well, first off, let me just say they can. Anyone can find success without going to college. We all know some of the more popular examples, but higher education, even when you look statistically at any of the well-documented websites out there, higher education increases your chances of success because it does a lot of things. You really do have the opportunity to learn a lot of different things when you go to college. The other thing, and we can use the Bill Gates example because that's probably the most famous one.
Yeah, people use it all the time.
When Bill Gates started college, guess what? He met a lot of smart people that gave him a lot of great ideas, and he used them as resources.
Right.
College is a great incubator for thinking and ideas, and so. Yes, can you go out and start your own business and be successful? Sure, there are plenty of people that have done that, but use college as that opportunity to work on your networks, learn a lot, meet a lot of great faculty members that have a lot of relevant work experience, and use that time to hone your skills, and then use those skills and make it count. So they can do it, but don't undersell getting a great education. And I want to mention a great education doesn't have to be at a traditional university.
Agreed.
There are other technical, Orange Technical College here at Orange County Public Schools. I'm on a couple of advisory boards with them. They do great work there, and that could be a great place for someone to get some of the foundational skills that they need. Valencia does a great job too. UCF, of course, Nova Southeastern University does as well. Of course. But I don't want anyone to short sell the value of higher education because statistically, if you look at it, the folks that do the best in our country are educated formally, and that's important.
I think for me it was so important. Like my bachelor's degree is in finance. Back in the day, I had an HP calculator, which I don't think anybody you have to be old enough to know what an HP calculator is. We did everything on there. But I learned everything from the groups that I was involved in, not just in my major, but outside. I'm a fraternity guy. I got super involved in student government. And I think if you utilize your college experience to, like what Michael said, develop your networking skills, meet people. I am still friends with, and still fraternity. I saw Armando Paez and Tico Perez here at the club yesterday, Armando again today. They're Sigma Chi's, I'm a Sigma Chi from UCF. You still have that connection.
Absolutely.
And so if you can build those relationships, it helps you when you're out there networking. You want to be able to, I mean, most jobs, unless you are a lab tech, most jobs involve some sort of people interaction in your work. And so if you don't have those skills, or you're not used to that, or you weren't super involved in high school, I just encourage you to utilize your college time to get involved. It doesn't have to be the Greek system. It can be whatever your comfort zone is. I mean, I encourage you to get out of your comfort zone, but that's for a whole other discussion. But I want you to know that the higher ed, it's about education, but their education isn't just about the coursework you take. It's about how you get involved and how you grow as an adult. There's a lot of maturing, believe it or not. I know you guys don't believe it, but from 18 to 22, 23, 29, whenever I graduated, there's a lot of maturing that goes on during that.
I think this is me. I don't know that this is, I can prove this, but this is just my own thought. I think we change more between 1824, 1825, and that window of time than any other period of time. So definitely everything you just said is true.
All right, so how about public service? So you're super involved in the community. You ran for office.
I did.
You know the value of it. Talk about it for somebody who says there's absolutely no reason for me to get involved. My voice doesn't make a difference. I think that people need to hear about other people's experiences when you talk about community leadership and getting involved in your community.
Well, for me, I took a look a few years ago, actually maybe 10 years ago, what's important to me. And professionally I chose education, but I wanted to do some public service things, some volunteering initiatives that were related to things that I'm passionate about. And I chose education and some other nonprofit organizations that are out there. And I think what's important is people first have to identify what's important to me, what matters. I really do believe we need to be, if we're not contributing to this community, I think that's a reflection on us. I think we all need to look and if you're passionate about a hospital charity, give back to that hospital charity. If you're passionate about education, give back to education. You just need to find what's a good fit for you. And I think that's where people struggle. I think everybody has an idea. Oh yeah, I want to do that. That sounds great. But when the rubber hits the road, they're not quite sure what's out there, what they can do, what strikes an accord with them. So I just think you have to keep looking. And then you said something earlier, and this is the trick. You got to get out of your comfort zone. Guess what? We're comfortable. We're comfortable going to work, going home, going to vacation, and not finding time in the day. And the first thing you have to do is get out of your comfort zone, because I'll be honest, when you're volunteering and where you end up at, it's uncomfortable a lot of times initially. And so you have to be comfortable with that whole dynamic and struggle. But when you start to see where your actions are contributing, it fuels you, and it doesn't become a chore or uncomfortable. It becomes quite comfortable.
And feel like what you have to do, what Michael's saying is so true. It doesn't have to be about the check you write. So I have a lot of people go, Ted, you do so much charity work. I'm not a Rockefeller, I promise you. It's about your resources and your time. And your time is huge for most of these organizations. If you can donate time, if you can, there are so many ways to get involved that don't involve a checkbook or going to a remote village in some crazy country. I mean, there's an in-between. You don't have to cut $1 million check, and you don't have to go and get your shots done before you go. Everybody's got something that they're passionate about. There's a really great in-between there that I think people miss out on. And so they utilize that as their reason for not getting super involved. And I want to challenge you to not think like that. I want to challenge you, whatever your passion is. Like one of my passions is Kids with Cancer. I'm on the board for Base Camp. I love Base Camp. What they do in our community is, bar none, it's just amazing what they accomplish on a daily and a weekly basis. Mine is about resources and support. Sometimes just supporting that organization is what those people need, and that support doesn't have to come in a check every single time. So just don't underestimate your own value and what you bring to the table when you're talking about public service. Not everybody wants to run for office, but if that's your thing, I encourage you to do that too. This is the time to do that. What was your final decision on that when you said, you know what, I'm going to run? What did your wife think? That's always my first question.
that was it. My wife is fantastic. She's always been so supportive of me. But just tying in, volunteering at schools, and I have 2 kids that are in high school, getting ready to go to college right now. And so, what made me run for office is just I was frustrated with what I was seeing at the schools,
Sure.
and what I was seeing when I would go to school board meetings. And the thing that really pushed my button is those that were in the know were doing one thing, but 95% of the rest of the population who weren't in the know were kind of going a different route.
Right.
And it was creating a lot of hardship for people. And I wanted to be part of the solution for that. I definitely used my voice out there and talked to as many groups and people as possible, but I wanted to actually make Orange County a little better. So that's why I ran.
I love it. All right, so what would you tell somebody who now has questions about, all right, my kids are going here, my kids are going there, loans, student loans, I don't want to get into the financing part, but you're making all these decisions and you're helping your kids because most kids, you just don't know. You've relied on your parents for the last 17 plus years, and all of a sudden you're trying to make financial decisions. Are there counseling? Like I have a friend, Vic Colazzo, who he's got a great story and he's been on the show. He donates a lot of his time to help kids that are transitioning from high school to college with some of their applications, but it can be very difficult to maneuver through all of that. Mm-hmm. So what do you suggest? Are there some things some resources that you have, or some resource recommendations that you can have for people?
Sure. I'm gonna, before we go to the folks that might have questions or need help, I want to kind of be proactive for a second, and everyone who maybe is not in this position, I want to give you some of the best advice you can get. If you have kids in school, elementary, middle school, high school, and you think they're going to go to college, I cannot stress this enough, dual enrollment. Dual enrollment through Orange County Public Schools. It's free. They can do it online. They can do it at Valencia. The reason why is those classes are almost 100% transferable if they're going to school in-state, and they're very portable even if you go out of state, and it's all free. And I just want you to, we're talking about student loans and everything else, just envision this. If I told you you could get 60 credit, an AA, 60 credit hours completed by the time you complete high school, what a bargain. Instead of spending $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 and getting into debt in the first place,
right. If
I told you you could do a little dual enrollment work and you wouldn't have any debt, that's a no-brainer.
That's huge.
And without getting too into one of my issues I've had, this school district really promotes AP first and foremost, and it's to the detriment, in my opinion, my humble opinion, it's to the detriment of most of our students. Because if you get an AP passing grade, a lot of schools may not accept it.
That's true.
You'll get far fewer of them if you did the dual enrollment work. And there are a bunch of other reasons I won't bore you with, but just a bit of advice that'll keep a lot of people out of financial aid jail. Do dual enrollment when you get into high school. Look at what the entrance requirements are for dual enrollment at Valencia. If your kids are young, don't wait. Start looking now. You could start doing dual enrollment classes as early as 6th grade.
I did not know.
As early as 6th grade. You just got to pass a little exam called the PERT, or if you score very well on the SAT or ACT if you're in high school, you can start dual enrollment. It's the kind of thing that a lot of our folks aren't told this stuff, and there are reasons, in my opinion, for that. But if you do a couple of things, you'll stay out of financial aid jail to begin with.
Wow,
and that's one of the important things.
I did not know that. Rebecca just said we had 126 high school students graduate with an AA before they graduated from high school. Like, I love the fact that you can get involved even at 6th grade. A lot of people, when they hear dual enrollment, they think that you have to have a genius as a kid.
No,
isn't that to me? That's the one thing. That's the not stigma, but that's a preconceived notion that people have about dual enrollment. So you just pass an exam?
No. There's an entrance exam called the PERT. that all students have to pass. If you're an honor student and you do very well, or the old FSA or FCAT, if you scored average or better, you're probably going to do okay on the PERT. That's not a perfect kind of analogy to use, but if you're a good student and you do okay on tests, you're probably going to be fine. And then because you've got to take an online class anyway to graduate high school, why not take an online dual enrollment class? In your summers, just pick up 1 or 2 classes. I mean, over time, it really adds up. And then when you transfer to, if it's a state school, it's an automatic pretty much. And then even some of the private nonprofits will accept, most, if not all, of the dual enrollment as well.
OCPS.net has that information, right? Or who does?
They
tell me.
They do, but if you're looking for dual enrollment information, the best place to go is Valencia, the Valencia website, to get that dual. And there's a section for dual enrollment, and you can read the rules right there.
And you can reach out to Mike. So we're going to share. That's how fast it goes. We're going to share all of Michael's contact information, how you can reach out to him. He's going to answer your questions later because neither one of us brought our glasses, so I'm reading as best I can with the comments. But he'll go through, and if you have questions after the show, if you watch the show later on, which a lot of you do, post your questions, and I'll keep an eye on them for the next couple of weeks, and we'll make sure Michael gets to them. But we'll share everything any way and there's a whole page. He's got a Facebook page. We'll give his contact information after we share the show, and you can always go to thetedshow.com in a couple of days maybe and get his contact information. All right, any parting words of wisdom you want to? You've shared a lot of wisdom. There's so much stuff I didn't know. Anything you want to share with them before we head out?
Well, we're really just colleges. You talked, one of the questions you asked me about resources. Certainly you can go to any university and get some information. The financial aid specialist can talk to you about any programs that might be available to help with student loans in terms of deferment, in terms of forgiveness. There are some things that are out there. You just need to talk to a financial aid professional. And I certainly encourage anyone to email nsu-orlando@nova.edu. And folks from our office, we'd be happy to help. Whether you are a NOVA student or not, we'd love to point you in the right direction.
All right. That was very informative today, my friend.
Well, thank you.
You never know how the conversations about higher ed, hey, Yami, what's up? You never know how the conversations about higher ed are going to go. Because I'm amazed at the number of people who really still have an interest in it. It's not just about your high school kids or your junior high kids. Kids are starting so much younger, like you said, 6th grade, you can do dual enrollment. Or you can start it or think about it. But there's many adults that want to go back, but they've heard so many things about how difficult it is, how expensive it is, how crazy it is. I know, but
you make you make bad choices. It can be very expensive.
You have to make the right choices. You'll also have to remember that there's a lot of quote-unquote institutions out there. This is my opinion, not Michael's, that are very money-oriented, and so you have to be super careful and do your research to make sure that the organization, I hate to even call it higher ed, the school, quote unquote, that you're going to really does have a placement program. Do the research online, look at the reviews, make sure you're getting into a situation that you can afford afterward, because if your 2.5-year degree gets you about $150,000 in debt, you have to be super careful about that. So that's my opinion. I'm not a higher educator, so I can say it. But do your research and look at the resources that you have. We have so many great resources at our fingertips. But like Michael said, a lot of people don't know. Hi, Keith Kong. What's up? The Mentalist just came on here. We're going to give him a shout out. All right, we love you guys. We'll be back. We've got a lot of great shows this week. And we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you, Michael, for being on.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
I really enjoyed it. It was
Hi,
awesome.
everybody.
All right. Mwah.